Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and today I'm going to give you my first impressions of the brand new PlayStation State of Play that was just released. And I had to chuckle because you got to admire the cojones on Sony here. You know, just when the Nintendo Switch 2 is launching and the entire gaming world is buzzing with that new console, Sony decides to, crash the party a little bit and release this brand new State of Play. And it makes sense because the PlayStation 5 is an undeniable smash hit. It has sold over 75 million units worldwide. And, today Sony wants to talk about what you can expect to play on that console going forward. And they covered a lot of ground here, but I'm just going to give you some of the highlights or some of the games that kind of stood out to me. Starting with the brand new look at the upcoming 007 First Light. So this is a brand new James Bond game from the developers of the Hitman series. Now, I have to admit, it's a little weird seeing Amazon listed on the title screen, right? That's kind of odd for us old school James Bond fans, but basically it looks like this is kind of a lot of cinematic footage, although they're mixing in what looks like real gameplay as well. It's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. And in the game, you play as a younger James Bond than who is in the movies. And so I think that gives them a license to kind of go their own way with it here. Although, I've been seeing some criticism of this where he looks kind of bland or AI generated. And yeah, I can definitely see that. I think the issue here is that they haven't, as far as I know, chosen a replacement for Daniel Craig, for the movies. And so perhaps they're trying to keep this a little bit generic depending on where Amazon goes with this in the future. But the Hitman developer knows how to make a good game, in my opinion. So I do have faith that they'll do it right. And from what I'm seeing of this so far, yeah, they're capturing, the essence of James Bond. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. And it's going to be coming in 2026. The next trailer I was excited to see was for the survival horror game Silent Hill F. This is the 8th game in that main franchise, and this one takes place in the 1960s. And I guess this is an attempt to try to bring the franchise back to a more kind of Japanese-centric style to it, but it definitely looks creepy and fun to explore. The Silent Hill games are always a mix of kind of psychological and body horror. And from the footage here, yeah, that's not changing anytime soon, which is cool. And I'm kind of getting a Fatal Frame vibe here with the environment, don't you think? How it takes place in this creepy, kind of traditional Japanese village. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. And this game is coming this September. When this next trailer started playing, I was like, what the heck is this? This looks bonkers, and yeah, I was right. This game's crazy. So as you can see here, this is a very hyper-stylized game called Romeo is a Dead Man, and yeah, it's just crazy and over the top. It definitely reminds me of Killer 7 meets maybe Bayonetta with a little bit of No More Heroes, and that makes total sense because the developer is Grasshopper Manufacturer. And they have a history of doing really crazy fun games throughout the decades. And so in this game, I guess you play as an FBI investigator and you're hunting down criminals throughout the universe. I think that's all that we know at this point, but like I said, you play these games because they're just completely creative and over the top and very stylized. So yeah, this is definitely going on my must-watch list. So we'll see what happens with this one. I was excited to see that they officially announced the game Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. So I love these games back on the PSP. It's funny because I've never really played golf in real life, but I love playing it in video games. And so this game is going to be a cool one. I guess they're going to be adding some new weather effects as well as day and night variants. And as long as they keep that classic gameplay and the classic controls, I'll be just fine. So this game is coming in September. I thought this announcement was pretty interesting. So Digital Eclipse is going to be bringing a new game collection specifically for Mortal Kombat. And based on what they were showing in this trailer, it looks like they're going to be bringing the packaging and design that they did for the Atari 50th anniversary collection, if you remember that. to the Mortal Kombat series. So that is really cool news, because if you played that Atari package, it's not just a collection of old games. They include design documents and boxes and interviews and behind the scenes footage, in addition to be able to play the games. And so I think that's what we're going to be getting here. That's a pretty cool announcement. Immediately after that, Sony announced a brand new wireless fight stick for the PlayStation 5. I did not see that coming, and it looks pretty slick, right? It was at about this point when I was wondering if they're going to release any PlayStation VR 2 trailers. You know, Sony has a VR headset, and sometimes I think they forget about it, but I was like, wait a second. Okay, this is kind of looking a little bit like Dishonored and a little bit like Thief. And then your character picked up the mechanical eye, and I was like, oh, this is Thief VR. This is a new VR game in the Thief world. That is pretty cool. I don't know, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I love the Thief series, and this could be perfect in VR. So actually, I'm pretty excited for this. Here's another little surprise I was excited to see from the makers of Journey and Pathless and also Abzul. I recognize the gameplay style, or at least the environments immediately here. And this is a brand new game from that same developer called Sword of the Sea. And in this time, it looks like you're going to be floating on this skateboard or surfboard type thing. So looks like they're adding a little bit of kind of Tony Hawk or maybe SSX in here, where you're going to be grinding every once in a while, wall riding, doing aerial tricks. So that's a new mechanic to this game. And, I like those other games actually more than I expected to. And this looks gorgeous, so I will be checking this out in August. Capcom showed us this game called Pragmata. So not entirely sure what's going on here, but basically it looks like a third-person science fiction game where you play as an astronaut, but then you're teamed up with this girl named Diana, and maybe she's a robot because she doesn't seem to need a helmet like he does. Not entirely sure what's going on here, but it looks like it's sci-fi and third-person shooting, maybe adventure. So I'm curious about this one. The graphics look good, and this one will be coming out in 2026. Here's another surprise, and that is a brand new Lumines game called Lumines Arise. And this was a total surprise. I did not expect to see this here, and this is another PSP franchise that I absolutely loved back in the day. I believe it was a launch title, actually. And it's a really cool mix of like music rhythm and also kind of block matching. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's the same developer as the people who made Tetris Effect, so you know it's going to be good. They had a trailer for Bloodstained, the Scarlet Engagement. So this is the next game in that series, and as you can see here, they are absolutely just gorgeous 2.5D platforming beat 'em up / RPG platforming games. A lot of good stuff here. People love these games, and I think this looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to definitely be checking this one out. Here's a game I think a lot of people were looking forward to, at least on my social media feed. I don't know if it was teased or what, but a lot of people were looking forward to Final Fantasy Tactics getting re-released on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. I originally played this game back on the Game Boy Advance. It did not leave my Game Boy Advance for months and months at a time. Such a brilliant game. It's one of the best tactical games of all time. What's cool is that this is coming with 2 versions. So you have the classic version if you prefer that, if you want to play it as it was originally designed, or there is an enhanced version which has a new interface. It also has fully voiced dialogue, graphical improvements, as well as some quality of life features. This is a pretty cool announcement of a game that is loved by many of us, and it will be out this September. Here's one that was kind of interesting that I didn't see coming. This is called Cairn. I think that's how you pronounce that. So this is a survival climbing game. And basically this is all about methodically trying to climb up steep and dangerous cliffs. And I guess you need to manage your balance as well as your equipment. You're going to have to deal with all kinds of different types of weather and also going and running into climbers. So don't know if this is my kind of game or not, but it's cool to see the variety here. We got another look at Metal Gear Solid Delta. So I'm sure many of you are aware of this game, but this is a remake of Snake Eater from the PlayStation 2. And this is, of course, looking really good. It's funny because they're definitely including these in all of these state of plays because I think they want to make sure that people know that they're working on it and that it's looking good. I do like at the end here, they teased a little bit of Ape Escape, the little monkeys from those games, into this game here, as well as they quickly showed off the different styles of camouflage. That looked pretty cool. I'm glad they talked a little bit about Astrobot because that is such a good PlayStation 5 game. And they basically talked about, hey, there's been new updates and challenges added to this. And they are announcing that they're going to bring 5 more challenge levels to this game, all for free. So that's pretty cool that they keep working on it and bringing out new stuff for it. They also showed that they're going to be bringing back the Astrobot PlayStation 5 controller. However, they teased with a twist. Not sure what that means though. They also talked about how PlayStation Plus is going to be adding some more classic games, and they listed Deus Ex, Twisted Metal 3 and 4, Resident Evil 2 and 3, and also Myst and Riven. So they haven't, forgotten about that service either. And then they ended with an announcement of how Arc Systems is going to be taking on the Marvel Universe with a brand new tag fighting game called Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. I think that's how you pronounce that. Now, I'm not the biggest fighting game fan, so I'm not going to pretend that I know all the ins and outs of this, but I do suspect that my buddy Reggie is going to be very excited and all over this game. I do like how it has its own Japanese anime style of design and the characters, which is pretty exciting. And now, if you're not familiar with Arc Systems, they have a long history of making video games. I mean, all the way back to the original NES and the Genesis, up to modern stuff. But they're mostly known to fans as the creators of the Guilty Gear series, Blaze Blue, a bunch of those kind of games. And they spent quite a bit of time on this announcement, giving us a bunch of behind-the-scenes footage with the developers and the designers, so looks like it's in good hands. And so that, guys, is just my highlights and first impressions of this PlayStation State of Play. I didn't hit all the games in here because they had a ton of them to show, but the thing I'm really struck by with this is just the amount of variety that is coming to the PlayStation 5. I mean, there really is something for everybody, especially for me. A lot of these games here I'm actually very excited for. To be honest, I'm going to jump all over that Thief VR game. I know, most people probably don't care, but I'm pretty excited for that. Also, that James Bond game. If they do it right, I'm going to love it, because I am a massive James Bond fan, so we'll see how that turns out. But did you watch this State of Play? Which game stood out to you? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, guys, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.